terminally online crypto incels. It's okay, I'm one of you. Today we're going to go over ICP. I see a really good setup here. I hope everyone's protecting their capital. This is like war games this weekend with this whole Iran-Israel nonsense. I mean, they tend to do this right on the weekend in the most illiquid times, right? I'm not saying that they're doing it to impact crypto and be like some conspiracy lunatic, but they're definitely war and finances interconnected, right? And now that you have TradFi doing ETFs and major players in crypto, obviously there's a lot of money to be made, right? So we're part of a deeper distribution pattern right now, which is, in my opinion, going into a reaccumulation before new highs. Weekend is a great time to manipulate, right? So hopefully you guys are protecting capital, but let's have a look at ICP. All right, so I like to start on the weekly time frame. We're going to open the weekly chart here. You can see we had a weekly raid over here of these equal lows, and then we had a weekly shift with pretty good displacement that had really good follow through. So that tells me we're in bullish order flow, and what I'm looking to do is map out the dealing range from the low to high on the weekly. So if you map it from this swing low, because that took out the previous lows, and this swing high, because that took out the previous highs, and rebalance this weekly, this is your dealing range on the weekly. What you want to see is within the weekly time frame or weekly dealing range, you want to see between the 618, 786, which is deep value, you want to see this get absorbed. And first contact with the 786, you can see we had a really nice impulse up. It rebalanced this bearish imbalance here, and then now it's pulling down, and it just rebalanced this weekly. So we'll break down this new dealing range we have from this swing low that rebalanced this weekly, and this swing high that rebalanced that weekly. And let's zoom in on that. So again, we're dropping from the weekly into the 4-hour time frame just to keep our time frame alignment. Here you can see the same pattern we had on the weekly 4-hour raid of equal lows, weekly 4-hour shift with really good displacement above the high, which was the last consolidation before taking out the lows. So now what you would want to do is the exact same thing on the 4-hour and plot your dealing range fib from the swing low to the swing high. So here's our fib pocket, again, between the 618, 786. This is an area of interest in deep value within this 4-hour dealing range where you want to see some kind of absorption happen and you want to see some kind of basing pattern. So within this range, what I normally will do to start sizing up an entry model is look for where the volume is traded. So if you plot basically from relatively equal highs over here to there to our lows, within that dealing range, both from this, like if you plot volume from here to present price or from this high to present price, point of control within this range is right in this high volume node. You could see we retested it here and rejected, and now we're within this range. We're at the value area low. You might get a bounce over here. If anything, I think it would be a weak one, something like that into the point of control, and then maybe a deeper pullback. Now, what I do see within both ranges is you could see a big spike in the histogram here and this cluster right here. And so you mark it out, like I have it marked out here in the red box. Basically, that's where this volume really ticks up within the bottom half of the range, below the value area low here and above the value area low here. So within this value range, we have this cluster, and this right here is our high volume node. So I want to see what else within this dealing range, deep discount fib, what else do you have in this range that looks interesting? So our range draw was this 4-hour imbalance. That's the deepest one within the range. There's another one down here, but I don't think it's likely to go there just because this moved down actually took out the lows, so I think that's going to be a pretty safe area that price will likely not go to. Below that 4-hour draw, you have this 4-hour order block inside of the high volume node. So this right here is starting to look like a pretty decent area. It also happens to be closest to the 786. So I like this zone so far, the way it's shaping up somewhere in this cluster right here. So what I've worked out for the entry, it's probably going to be somewhere in this cluster right here near the 786. What I'd want to see, if it does keep drawing down, some kind of deceleration around here and then a higher low, something like that. So you wouldn't get in here just because that's an area that you marked in for your entry. You would get in on the higher low once some kind of 15-minute structure is created in the range. So assuming it does base here, the reason I like this setup now is the weekly internal imbalance is pretty much rebalanced. So again, we took out the weekly highs over here, and then we rebalanced this weekly internal. So I don't see any reason to keep drawing down on the 4-hour time frame. If anything, it'll just get one more pullback into this cluster, and then it should get bids. So I really like this entry right here. And what I would be targeting on the weekly, oh yeah, and by the way, on the weekly, you could see all these internal range lows right here. So this entire liquidity arc got spiked into that weekly. So this is always a good setup on the weekly for me. So target wise, assuming you get the entry over here, you would be taking profits somewhere up here at these relatively equal highs. So this high and this high, whoever entered short over here, they probably put their stop above that, so they've added to that liquidity pool. That's going to be a pretty strong draw to the upside. And then if you zoom out on the 3-day, you can see it better. You have this huge liquidity arc, right, from the original high over here down to this one. These are all open wicks. So I'd be targeting at every liquidity point another TP. So TP2 up here at 38, TP3 at 58.3, TP4 between the 786, 886 from swing high to the absolute bottom, the Pico bottom, the nadir. And then if you go on the daily, inside of the 886, 786, you could see a massive daily imbalance. So right over here. So that would be a pretty good draw. I wouldn't take profit at the wick high. Like if you got in down there, what a trade. If it does end up going to 86, I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of supply overhang over here. But I wouldn't take profit up there. I would try to do like a cheeky take profit above these highs inside that daily imbalance for the 4th TP. So that's the setup for ICP. Again, the weekly looks phenomenal. This is a massive pullback from the highs, 72%. But this coin is volatile, right? When it goes up crazy percentage. And when it comes down, the drawdown, it'll draw down like 75, 90%. But I mean, look at these moves on the way up. So I think you're getting into an area over here where you could have a really solid entry, especially right now. This is looking to me like a weekly order block, because that down candle rebalanced this candle and then had good displacement for 2 weeks in a row. So I think if we get that tight 4-hour entry, I would look for this exact structure, 15-minute structure to be built around the entry level, those to get taken out, and then a 15-minute shift, just like on the weekly and the 4-hour. And then I would look to get in on the higher low. Kind of like this will be the entry on the 4-hour. Something like this would be the entry on the 15-minute. So that's ICP. All right, boys, enjoy the war games this weekend. Protect your capital. Cheers.